Welcome everyone. Today we have our another new episode, and we have a debate right now. For this debate, we have our world famous speaker, Madam Ali Rice, Rob Enderley, and Jiri. It's an open debate, definitely, and you can take any parts. Like you can take the oppositions and the government side. It's open discussions, and every round we have three rounds. Every round, every speaker gets around 7 minutes for this speech. And first, I want to give chance Mr. Rob because of subject matter expert. Mr. Rob.
All right, so this the battle between AIs, and this is a battle between not just two AIs in the marketplace. We've got a lot of them, but we're just focused on two at the moment. The reason I mentioned there's a lot of them is this week Alibaba announced that they've got an AI that's better than both ChatGPT and DeepSeek. So we'll save that for another time. But as these two entities come together, there is an interesting dynamic, and that dynamic is kind of who really built it best and who really built it first. And in this particular case, ChatGPT clearly built it first. They're the ones that set the baseline. Theirs is the product that spread through Microsoft, and theirs is the one that initially started this AI ride we're in. DeepSeek is interesting in that what they did is they appear to have taken what ChatGPT did and made it much more efficient. They also did something that none of the AI folks have been doing. It's been happening on the quantum side, but in terms of error correction, but hasn't been happening on the AI side as aggressively. And DeepSeek changed that dynamic so they actually focused a great deal of their effort on error correction and accuracy, which, with one exception, would make them the better product. What also might make them the better product is because they were denied access to NVIDIA's latest technology, they had to do all of their work on largely out-of-date GPUs. I mean, out-of-date in terms of being several generations behind NVIDIA's greatest. And so the end result is they optimized their platform so it uses far less energy and uses far less computing power, yet provides a better result, again, with one exception, a better result than ChatGPT currently does. And so right now, DeepSeek, with the one exception I'm going to mention right now, is arguably a better AI platform than ChatGPT is. And Microsoft has actually rolled as to address the underlying issues with DeepSeek and coming from China. Microsoft has overlaid DeepSeek with some controls to make sure it can be trusted, and they're providing it as part of their solution set. So the right now DeepSeek is the challenger. They're growing very rapidly. They perform more economically than ChatGPT does. They would arguably be faster on the same hardware, though they're impressively fast on the older hardware. And the downside for the product, and this is the thing that sets it back, though I still think currently it's better, is the interference by the Chinese government, which limits what you can search on DeepSeek. Now, it looks to be an overlay, which would be all right. An overlay just means it won't allow you to ask certain questions and it doesn't corrupt the AI. But it's very possible they've gone into the code and altered how DeepSeek sees things. And if that's the case, they've got an inherent corruption in DeepSeek that's probably going to come back and haunt them in the future. But for right now, I maintain that DeepSeek is arguably the better product. It doesn't necessarily hurt NVIDIA as the market reacted because it's using NVIDIA technology. And that same thing that they've done inside DeepSeek could be applied to other AIs and then put on current NVIDIA technology would be even more powerful. So my position is DeepSeek right now is the better product. It's getting nearly as much pickup as ChatGPT initially did, and the big negative, of course, with the product is the Chinese government's direct engagement with the offering.
Thank you. Thank you for the first round of the debate. Now I request Madam Ali Rice.
Okay. Right. I did do some research, but I don't use ChatGPT so I don't have any individual experience. But essentially, I think one of the things that's really interesting is I read a quote from the founder of DeepSeek, and he basically said for a minute. Let me just find it. Often we say there's 1 or 2 years gap between developing Chinese and American AI, but the real gap is between originality and imitation. And basically, he was talking about how China's always been a follower, and I think in this respect, they've kind of suddenly found that they're innovating and they're doing things differently. So I think they've kind of this, and also it's cost so much less than that OpenAI did, that I think they've suddenly challenged the valuation that they've got on the company. So I think the thing is that suddenly altered the stakes and made people realize that you can do things for less and use less resources and still achieve the same result. So, and I also looked at some of these, somebody was actually giving the same question to ChatGPT and DeepSeek. And there's one guy actually said that ChatGPT couldn't do a more complex problem, but DeepSeek did. So I think the thing is, it's one of those things when essentially it's already proving its purpose because it's the most downloaded app in America at the moment on Apple. And I think the thing is that the Americans suddenly realised that they don't necessarily have the dominance over the market, and obviously they're used to having it. So I think the thing is they've suddenly realised that they've got competition. So so that's my first.
Thank you. Now I request Jiri for the first round.
Hello, my name is Jiří Borč and I am a human. I welcome you from the Czech Republic, and I prepared a very short presentation on also Claude, because I would like to mention that there exists a third one, which is called Claude from this perspective. And I would like to prepare a very short presentation about the debate between GPT chat, DeepSeek, and Claude. So I will very shortly read my presentation. Concerning knowledge, DeepSeek has a strong mathematical reasoning, scientific accuracy, and handling complex data-driven problems. ChatGPT broad general knowledge, strong adaptability, and conversational depth in multiple domains. And Claude has a deep contextual understanding, ethical AI principles, and long-form analysis. What does it mean? Who would win in this debate? The final verdict would be that if debate occurred between these three, the debate would be dominating DeepSeek in the technical and data-driven. GPT would win in a persuasive argumentation, and Claude would win in ethics and philosophy and deep reasoning. Thank you very much for your listening. This is all for my side for now.
Thank you. Well, from the first round of discussions, what we understand that DeepSeek is an advanced AI model focused on deeper reasoning, problem solving, analysis. It claims to surpass traditional chatbots in area like multi-step reasoning, logical deductions, and factual accuracy. On the other hand, ChatGPT definitely is bringing a very big breakthroughs in AI industry. So it's a state-of-art conversational AI development by OpenAI. It excels in the natural language understanding, creating, writing, versatile problem solving across numerical domain with regular update and continuous improvement. Definitely in this debate, we have more expert like Professor Rob Enderle, Madam Ali Rice, and Jiri. I want to go for the second round of the debate. Mr. Rob, what you want to discuss more? And there are a lot of questions about these innovations, politics about these innovations, lot of social media status and content about this DeepSeek and the ChatGPT. People have huge interest. What you want to say?
Well, it's a huge interest in AI in general, and it's kind of fascinating because if we looked at what happened to TikTok here in the United States, where they attempted to block it. Right now, it's still operating despite the block. But there was a huge concern about TikTok providing or capturing confidential information and providing it to the Chinese government. With that potential risk, clearly DeepSeek has an even bigger problem in that regard because it uses large data set. I mean, its very nature is to capture data and make decisions from it. So if TikTok was bad, DeepSeek would be horrible in that regard. Yet, at least right now, there's not a lot of focus on trying to block DeepSeek. And as I mentioned, Microsoft's using it. So the interesting undertone here, though, is that of course ChatGPT believes that DeepSeek stole their stuff, made it better, and then remarketed it, which is a little fascinating because if you look at how these large scale LLMs, large language models, are created, they're largely created by harvesting information that's been created by others. And what OpenAI, the parent of ChatGPT, argues is that's fair use because people do the same thing. And I've argued this myself. I don't know how you can protect or prevent an AI from doing what you or I would do as we learn a particular subject, just because the AI does it at a greater scale. I mean, does doing more of something make it less legal than doing less of something? And that in itself is an interesting argument. So what ChatGPT is arguing is just like they scanned other people's work to create their LLM. The folks at DeepSeek scanned the repositories for ChatGPT and basically is using their underlying training, but made much more efficient in the DeepSeek effort. So that dynamic is, hey, I stole what you got, I made it a ton better, and then I brought the ton better thing to market, which is almost exactly what ChatGPT did with the original information. So the litigation between these two companies is going to be fascinating because clearly DeepSeek is going to point out that ChatGPT pretty much did the same thing. It just they didn't take it from one person that had collected it all. I mean, they didn't collect it from the source. They just collected it from ChatGPT, who in theory shouldn't have had ownership over that material to begin with. It's virtually all in the public domain. So that'll be an interesting dynamic. I think though this points to how AI is probably going to evolve going forward. Initially, much of the AI efforts were all insular, almost like they didn't know of each other, and they were coming up in a more linear fashion. But as this matures, it now looks like what we're getting is some of the new folks are taking what was developed by the old folks, making it better, more performative, and bringing the result to market. That could have some interesting dynamics, but I'm not convinced the copyright laws or the patent laws restrict that kind of behavior. We'll see as we get through the courts, but at the moment, it looks like this is a way to even speed up AI development much more quickly by creating a competitive element in the development path. So it's not linear within a single company, but it's created amongst a group of companies, and then whoever brings the result to market first gets the win. That's going to be kind of a wild west level of advancement, but that appears to be where we are at the moment. And often that is the case with new technology. So I still think that ChatGPT does have still has the edge here because they took something and made it better. But that's not to say that OpenAI couldn't come right back and do much the same thing in reverse if they wanted to. I think litigation for them is a mistake at this point. We'll see how that plays out.
Thank you, Madam Alivice. This is for your second round of debate.
Okay. Let me just get my notes a second. Okay. So I reckon, because I was looking at NVIDIA, who apparently was the most valuable company in the world until DeepSeek launched, and essentially, I think what's happened is essentially. And that basically now they're third in line and behind both Apple and hold on a second. Oh no, I'm sorry. So basically, essentially, because of what's happened, Silicon Valley and Wall Street are reeling because all of a sudden the picture's changed and they don't have any control over it. And apparently DeepSeek is a private company as well, so there aren't market shares, you can't buy into it. So essentially that their value and their input isn't going to change. Apart from there is an argument that they could be kind of technically isolated if the rest of the tech companies, don't like what they're doing, or essentially, if there is queries over, the protection and data and whether they're a threat to other countries outside of China. So.
Thank you. Now I request Mr. Bors. So,
Yes, thank you very
what
much.
point you want to add? Yeah.
As you know, Sharif, my great hobby is business, and I prepared a very short presentation about using GPT and DeepSeek in business. So, number one is GPT. I would use it for customer support, automating of responses, improving chatbots, and handles questions, for marketing and content creation, for generating ads and social media posts, for sales and lead generation, like personalized outreach, writing proposals and follow up on emails, and business strategy and brainstorming, idea generation, and competitor analysis. So this would use GPT. And for DeepSeek, I would use for financial analysis, forecasting, process large data sets, technical problem solving, supply chains and RD solutions, and market research and power AI powered decision making, like support strategic choices. If I summarize my presentation, the best use for ChatGPT is for human like interaction, and the DeepSeek for deep analysis and technical reasoning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is very interesting debate, and we get very good comparison in between DeepSeek and the ChatGPT. We find the reasoning ability claimed for DeepSeek, we find claimed to be superior in the deep reasoning and problem-solving skill. On the other hand, we find that ChatGPT has strong logical reasoning, but depends on context and training update. Also, we focus on the knowledge base. DeepSeek may have enhanced real-time knowledge access. On the other hand, about ChatGPT, we find extensive pre-trained knowledge with periodic web update. So this is interesting debate, and hopefully it will bring more valuable logic for today's debate. Mr. Rock, what you want to discuss more about DeepSeek, or anything you want to add as a hypothesis, or you want to predict some things, what will happen next 3 to 5 years? Yeah.
Sure. Well, we had a question come in asking, won't LLMs become a commodity? Won't the future of agentic AI incorporate very large word, image, and animation learning models going forward? In the words of military science and worlds of military science and beyond. Well, I would argue LLMs are already a commodity. The very nature of an LLM would suggest it's a commodity. It's a national resource. I don't think governments have figured out yet that much like oil, data on their citizens is a national resource, and really the resource should probably be monetized and to a large extent controlled by the government, so that the government and the citizens get a benefit from the resource that's coming from them. Well, that's probably off into the future, but right now I think it is a commodity. When we're talking about agentic AI, that's talking about a very specific set of AI tools that can go out and operate autonomously, often across different applications and environments to complete a task. The model size really kind of depends on the nature of the agentic AI. They're very custom and focused on the particular tasks they're attempting to accomplish. So, for instance, an agentic AI that's helping you with calendaring and scheduling would be very different than an agentic AI that's operating as a customer agent to connect you back into the company to buy a particular good or service. So the last part of the question kind of is, it depends on the agentic AI, but on the first part of the question, yes, LLMs should in fact be a commodity. A bunch of other questions just came in at the same time. Which model provides, well, so the question with regard to which model provides deep reasoning, complex analysis kind of depends on the problem that's put in front of it. I would say that right now, because ChatGPT doesn't have the best record with regard to accuracy, and they did not, like DeepSeek did, put in place an error checking capability to improve the quality of the result. I would say as an analyst, I would probably trust DeepSeek more right now, except on any question involving the Chinese government. I would trust DeepSeek more than I would trust ChatGPT, only because they have that error checking component inside the model, which I think makes it more trustworthy. I think them doing this will hopefully wake up the rest of the market, that they also need to put in place a quality component to assure the accuracy and veracity of the result. Otherwise, you really can't trust what these things put out. And I would argue there's been a major problem with the initial AI implementations, that you really can't trust them. We had the implementation of a virtual engineer. Well, if you've been watching that virtual engineer has been doing really badly of late, really poor quality work, lots of errors, lots of mistakes. You almost need to put an engineer on top of the virtual engineer just to have a product that you can use, which is problematic. That again showcases that these initial iterations of AI, with DeepSeek being an exception, really didn't focus enough on quality and focused too much on getting to market. Which is more effective for general conversational AI and user engagement? Really kind of depends on the user. I think DeepSeek is showing a tremendous amount of capability with regard to user engagement. ChatGPT comes across as being a bit more human when you're engaging with it at the moment, but that kind of changes by the number of people that are using it. So I would say that giving that particular question, that ChatGPT probably has a little bit of a lead right now with regard to stuff, a feeling that you're talking to a person as opposed to talking to a machine. Which is better for technical, research-based applications. Because of error checking, I would probably give the edge to DeepSeek. Because once again, both of them can do the job, but I'm really concerned about the quality of ChatGPT at the moment. And again, I think I value accuracy over breadth. I think ChatGPT is a bit more breadth, but DeepSeek should have a higher level of accuracy. And that's it. That's it for the question. So overall, I'll end with the fact that we're still at the beginning of this war. Jerry brought up earlier yet another AI product, and I brought up one as well out of Alibaba. And the end result is this conversation is far from over. We're still at the infancy. I remember at the beginning of the PC wave, we had lots of little operating systems floating around. We had internals from IBM. We had of course DOS, which is the one that eventually won. We had Mac OS all floating around, and of course most of those other companies just went away, and we were left with a few. Well, we're still at that everybody's doing this, or their brothers doing this phase. I was looking at a list of well over 1,000 companies that are working on AI projects at the moment. So this is still pretty much anybody's game this early on. So we're not done with these battles. And while DeepSeek I think has the edge at the moment, the war is hardly over, and it's certainly possible that neither of these companies will be with us at the end.
Thank you. Now I request Madam Ali Rice, what you want to discuss for this round.
Okay, well, so in my research that I did, I looked at Professor Neil Lawrence's quote, and he's a professor of machine learning in Cambridge University, and he basically said that it was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of innovation, and we can expect more kind of innovation and kind of dynamics changing. And he also, I think, historically talked about James Watt, who's synonymous with the steam engine, but didn't invent it. And he said that there was plenty of space for budding innovators to emerge that are less likely to come from established players, but from outside of them. So in some ways, as an innovator and an entrepreneur as well, I think it's quite interesting that the dynamics change because of somebody that's new and is apparently from a finance background as opposed to anything else. So I think the thing is, I think that's always the question mark over China and, their agenda. But there's also, you can also ask the same questions about Microsoft and Bill Gates. And, so I'm quite suspicious of all of the people that are behind it and what their real kind of agenda is as well. So I think we can ask, there's question marks over everybody that's in the battle.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, both. What you want to discuss for this round? Do you have any more logic for add?
Thank you very much. I would like to thank my colleagues, Ali and Rob, for their view. This is very interesting. I would like to follow up on them with the future, let's say 5 years ahead. 2030, what will ChatGPT and DeepSeek look like? So here is my prediction. AI will be part of the society and deeply integrated in our personal, educational, and professional lives. We will see AI solutions across multiple platforms, enhancing every day from healthcare to arts and entertainment. And I think that to summarize this, AI is just a tool. It's not a replacement. Yes, I would like to mention this also. Future is collaborative, so we should cooperate with AI and hope for that it will not take over. Thank you.
Thank you. What we get from this debate highlights in terms of accuracy and depth of knowledge, if DeepSeek is designed for superior factual accuracy and deeper insight, it could outperform ChatGPT in specialized knowledge area. On the other hand, ChatGPT is continuously updated and refined to ensure factual reliability, making it a strong contender. In terms of versatility and use case, DeepSeek might be more suitable for academic, scientific, and technical research. On the other hand, ChatGPT more adaptable across various industries, including business, entertainment, and education. Mr. Rob, there are some point of informations. So we want to bring more point of information. First, audience has point of information. What AI workable, drive, and based legal and medical capabilities may flourish nationally and internationally?
Well, all of those are being worked. I mean, all of those categories are being worked. Where much of the efforts going into is revenue generation. Certainly, the agentic AI and using it as a way to better engage customers and generate more revenue seems to be the easiest way to justify the cost of purchasing the technology. Where it's getting the least focus is on employee care, which I think is a mistake. Honestly, I think it should be the other way around. You develop an interest in the product first, you help your people first, and then you roll it outside to the customers at large would be the way I would prefer doing it. But I get that would create a revenue lag because when you're helping employees, you might get a productivity increase, but you wouldn't get the immediate benefit of higher close rates, which you would get if you applied it on the sales side. Nothing says you can't do both at once, but my view is that company will do this better once they become familiar with and comfortable with a particular technology than they will if they're still learning it. And it's generally better to learn a technology when you're applying it inside than if you're applying it to an outside audience, because outside audiences typically don't provide the kind of feedback you need to really move the product forward. But having said that, all of the areas listed will undoubtedly be successful going forward. The underlying issue, and I think Jerry brought that up, is do you use the technology to enhance people or do you use the technology to replace them? Most of the projects I'm looking at the moment appear to be replacement projects, not enhancement projects. IBM is an outlier, unfortunately. They believe in enhancement over replacement. But one of the things that have been driving the underlying replacement strategy is the fact that certain classes of workers are just not available, unavailability of the classes of workers. And that creates kind of a hard focus. If you want to stay in business but you can't get the employees, then your only choice is to get an AI or robot to do the work, for you. So the end result of I think going forward is while I think the early spike with regard to sales and with regard to the popularity and deployment of AI is focused on revenue generation, eventually all of those areas will be picked up. And my hope is that we'll be able to wrap our heads around the HR side of this much more quickly so that we can better train up, manage the employees, and we aren't left with large scale unemployment, which has been happening across a number of the tech companies here in the US. As they've adopted AI, they've been laying off people in relatively large numbers, which I think is a problematic trend. Because those people that are laid off are not going to be skilled up, and so that those people may quickly become unemployable if some effort is made to train them to different skill sets, and that'll be a problem at a nation state scale. So in the end, Initial waves, revenue generation, subsequent waves on employee care and some of the more humanistic aspects of the technology, which I do think is unfortunate, but that's the reality we're dealing with. And those areas that are getting the biggest focus right now, at least from my end, are those areas focused on sales and revenue. And those that are getting the least focus right now are those focused on employee care and well-being. And while that's unfortunate, that's just where we are at the moment.
Thank you. For point of information, Madam Ali Rice, if you can clarify more the core difference in between DeepSeek and ChatGPT architectures, or
I actually haven't used it, so I don't really know how to answer that, to be honest. Apart from I read kind of a transcript from somebody that posed the same questions to both, and essentially they were on the par for most things. But when he asked them to create a story about a boy that lived on the moon, ChatGPT gave him 6 examples that were quite succinct, and DeepSeek only gave him 1. So essentially, it's quite interesting that one, I don't know, there's an argument to say, because he was looking for ideas, is it better to go with one idea or give him kind of 6 ones that just kind of, so essentially, I guess the format's different, but and he was also, was asking about the significance of, because he loved football and he was Scottish, and essentially, I think it sounds like DeepSeek kind of gives you a much more full and rounded answer as opposed to just a succinct, direct thing. And it's also supposedly works kind of like the human, a human mindset processes and works so that it's kind of incremental information as well. So, and I guess if you're using it to kind of assist you, kind of working incrementally kind of makes sense so that, you're kind of collaborating and co-creating together.
thank you. My next point of information for my friend, which AI model provide better deep reasoning and complex analysis? Or both?
Yes, thank you. I will try to answer this question. I think DeepSeek is better in my opinion, for specialized research, technical analysis, data accuracy, pattern recognition, and detailed technical contents. This is DeepSeek. And for ChatGPT, I would say suited for general inquiries, content creation, communication-oriented tasks, and offering less precise technical insights, but great for summarization, explanation, and brainstorming ideas. And I have also one joke, if I can.
Sure.
This joke about ChatGPT. Why did ChatGPT break up with DeepSeek? Do you know? And the answer is because DeepSeek was too focused on the data, and ChatGPT just wanted to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So this is all from my side. Thank you. I give over.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, there is another point of information from our audience, Mr. Michael. What AI enhanced human genetics gain of function may come? What you want to say?
Well, this kind of comes from the aspect that when we're talking about AI, and this we're stepping away a bit from the debate with this, and really talking about simulation. The issue with regard to doing modifications on humans, the biological modifications on humans, is the risk, of course, of doing harm and experimenting on people, which violates a number of national, international laws. Not that it's not being done in a number of countries, but it's problematic because when you're experimenting on people, you've got to deal with the fact that you're probably going to kill a bunch of them, and doing the research on monkeys and animals isn't all that friendly, socially acceptable right now at the moment either. So what AI does bring to us is the ability to create large-scale simulations, and we're very close to being able to simulate the human body. So once we create a full-on simulation of the human body, something that's highly accurate, then the AI can experiment to its heart's content on the simulation, and we'll probably see advancements in medical technology and medicines, antiviral agents, and full-on remedies that over a very short period of time that would represent something we would typically see in centuries. We've already seen some early indications of that on a couple of projects that I can't talk about at the moment. But the advancements, the potential for advancements are significant, and there is a focus on this. It's just much of those efforts are not, to my knowledge, public, and I don't have access to a lot of them either. But yes, the AI is going to make a significant contribution to our health and well-being, and certainly as we talk about enhancing people, we've certainly seen Elon Musk's program of putting in a physical brain interface. They're working on their second and third trials with living people, with humans at the moment, which I think is still going to be problematic because of the material density and weight between the brain and the materials they're attaching to it. Let's just say if I had one of those things in my head, I would dare not fall or get into a car accident because that sucker is going to rip free and probably not do you any good when it did it. But it does show the work that's going on there. There are other companies competing with Musk that are using a more biological technology, which I think is going to be much more performant going forward because it has less material differences than the brain. But in the end, to answer the question, AI is going to make a huge difference on how we alter, improve, and change people. It very well may be as we move to planetary research or even deep sea undersea research, we'll be able to modify people so they'll be able to better perform in those more hostile environments much more successfully. Maybe a point where we begin modifying people as soon as they figure out what it is they want to do a variety of different jobs, increasing their strength when strength is needed, their mental acuity is needed, and the rest. But we'll have to get through a number of regulatory and interpersonal issues because there are going to be a lot of people that are very concerned when we go in and start mucking with people about whether what we're doing is good or bad. I expect by the end of the century we'll be through all of that. But in any case, the combination of AI, simulation, and biomedical research is going to make huge advances that we can't even contemplate now, because just the scale we're talking about here, moving projects that would typically take centuries into projects that could take years, if not months.
Thank you, Madam Ali Rice. My next point of information for today's debate: which model prefer better for real time, or let's say latest information retrieval? What you prefer?
Because I still don't know because I haven't used it, so I don't know. I know that when I researched, there's a guy that's, hold on a second, let me just find my notes. There's a guy that was looking for a really complicated solution to something, and apparently ChatGPT couldn't even perform the task, and DeepSeek actually got the answer and the solution straight away, and he received it within minutes. So I think I guess it depends on the complexity of what you're asking it to do. And I know my nephew runs his own business, and he graduated from Oxford in last summer, and essentially he uses ChatGPT to do things that would that he just to make things efficient. So he puts all the information. He uses it to kind of put all the information in. And essentially, I think he uses it just to cut his time. And at the moment, he tutors other students in maths and also to apply for Cambridge or Oxford. And essentially, I think that he frees up the time when he's not tutoring through ChatGPT to enable him to not actually do as much work unless he's having a one-to-one conversation with whoever he's tutoring. So essentially, I still think that the whole point about AI is to facilitate the things so that we have a more fulfilled life that kind of cuts the time we need to do. And it horrifies me that people are volunteering to have the chip put in their head, and because essentially I still deeply believe that most people don't realize their own potential, and essentially to modify people so that they perform tasks and do work. I don't understand why people would do that, because essentially I deeply believe that everyone's got genius, and if you play to your strengths, that's where your purpose. And essentially I've worked in education for over 30 years. I've got two children that my son will be 20 in May, but is still a teenager, and he's in his second year of uni. I think kind of so making a difference essentially, so I think those skills and talents that you naturally have are there for a reason. And I'm a big believer in the fact that that the arts and the film industry is one of the things that film literacy makes massive change to people. And I think I don't really understand why schools and education aren't embracing that ability to engage with young people more. So yeah, so I think that I did see a thing about AI. I think on Dragon's Den there was somebody that invented AI that could actually use a big piece of film and cut it into snippets so that they could make marketing tools. But the AI kind of basically could transcribe whatever was said and then cut it into small segments, so you could market whatever it is. But it did it in seconds. So essentially, that's clever. So I think essentially AI, if it can pull things out and kind of to actually to do something that would take weeks and weeks for somebody else to do, it's amazing. But as an artist, I wouldn't want AI to be the only thing that produced visuals and films, and because why are we here if not to create and make the world better? And essentially, for me, the natural world's really important as well. So it'd be really nice if AI was used to kind of find the solutions for the things that really kind of critically affected us all. So yeah. So anyway, that's my thought.
Thank you. I have another point of information for my friend Mr. Bors. Which is more effective, for general conversation AI or user engagement? Can you unmute, please?
Sorry. I think that all has been said by my colleagues already. However, I will try to touch the topic which is very interesting for me and which is close to your question. And this is, can AI learn by itself? Can AI learn by itself? This is the very question which is for me very, very interesting. And I think that all models like GPT and DeepSeek don't learn by themselves in the real time. They are trained using data, and they learn patterns and associations and structures, but they don't learn by themselves. I think some systems, AI systems, can be set for continuous learning, but that process usually requires human supervision. And I would like really very much to hear your opinion, Sharif, and also opinion of Ali and Rob, if AI can learn by itself. Can you tell me very briefly this opinion? Can we do one round on this?
Yeah, sure. This is the opinion from our audience. They're really enjoying today's sessions because this is very, very important discussions. And this debate is needed, and we need to discuss more. We can share these things in our academy, in our industries, with the government agencies. And that is the objective of World Talent Economic Forum. And you will be happy through this kind of debate, open dialogue right now in Bangladesh, in India, in UAE, in Australia, in Singapore, even in Silicon Valley, or in Canada. Everywhere we are creating impact because we have very high quality debaters, speakers like you people, and I want to give thanks those who regularly join in our conversations. Mr. Rob, my last point of information for you. which is better for technical or research-based application? What do you think? And there is always one issues come to the academia, because many of our youth, they are heavily utilizing this AI for academic activities. I can remember when I discussed these things with NUS, National University, Singapore, they accept it. They said, yeah, student can use this AI, but they can do the creative thought process and they can submit it. What do you think? We should apply these things for our research-based application, or it's like a technical things?
No, it's I had to do a paper over the holidays on AI, and I used ChatGPT to help me write it, and it was hugely helpful. I used Gemini a bit too. I found Gemini actually very good at helping with research. That's the Google based AI. It did a very nice job as well. But with education, often cost is one of the major factors, and right now DeepSeek is the least costly. But however, the connection to the Chinese government does always bring up concerns, particularly if you're dropping something into education. You want to make sure that it's not somehow influencing people inappropriately. So doing something like Microsoft did, where they go in and assure the tool isn't misbehaving, would probably be wise if you're going to use DeepSeek. So maybe go through Microsoft to get access to DeepSeek, or at least look at what it is they did and make sure that what DeepSeek can and will do is protected. But otherwise, being a far less expensive tool, at least over the short haul, DeepSeek would seem to be the better interim choice. And in most of the head-to-head comparisons that I went through this morning preparing for this, DeepSeek outperformed ChatGPT. But recognize that, like anything else, these things are in a race. With every new release, and they're releasing fairly quickly, you'll see that again, one better than the other. I'm not sure we're going to get to a point where one is sustainably better than the other. DeepSeek does appear to have taken what ChatGPT did and made it better. But that doesn't mean that ChatGPT can't do the same thing with their own product. And of course, being surrounded by litigation, we'll see what the courts decide to see if DeepSeek can continue to do this. I expect they will be able to, but politics play in here, and you never know when you've got politics involved. So in the end, I would probably recommend DeepSeek as the more costly tool, but I'd also suggest doing what Microsoft did, just to assure the outcome. In any case, a DeepSeek on accuracy tests does still show up as being more accurate than ChatGPT, which again, when you're doing research, is really important. You don't want it hallucinating. People have turned in papers using ChatGPT and been pounded for it because of the nature of the hallucinations and the manufactured references, which has been problematic in the past.
Thank you. Madam Ali Rice, what final comment for today's session?
My final comment, I spoke to one of my best friends that lives in Moscow, and she's a professor of English at Moscow University. And she said that students constantly hand in papers that she knows ChatGPT did, because she knows they don't have the level of knowledge and ability to have done the papers themselves. And essentially, I think if you're doing a degree, I don't think that's really okay. I think she feels it's quite soul destroying that instead of increasing their knowledge and learning, that they're taking shortcuts. And even one of my son's friends is doing advanced mathematics, and because the maths is so hard, he gets ChatGPT or another AI to do it as well instead of putting in the work. And essentially, for me, it's kind of lazy, So I don't think there's any short-term goal, to demonstrate what you can do. I don't think it's a good alternative. To free up your time so that you can achieve something else. Yeah, but I just think you need to demonstrate your knowledge if you're at university trying to qualify and do something. So I think there needs to be kind of a division between the two.
Thank you. Boss, what's your closing remarks for today's session?
I would like to thank you very much for this great discussion. I think that we touched many points today. Um, and we talked about universities, about ethical concerns, about super intelligence. We talked about uh, AI applications and models, GPT and DeepSeek, how they perform in business, technical, and research environments. And I'm very, very happy to be here. And I hope if I can do some closing sentence, it would be this. I think that rather than being afraid, we should be cautious, informed, and involved in how AI is shaped, and we should be use it as a powerful ally and tool for good. So these are my closing words. Thank you guys for being here with me.
Thank you. Thank you for today's sessions, and just any final comments from Mr. Rob, because many interesting comments come and many views come, and what you want to advise industry, academia, and government for utilizing this DeepSeek and ChatGPT.
So back when I was in college, we had issues with regard to people using calculators, because calculators had just come out, and they argued that, well, you really shouldn't use a calculator because it was going to be damaging your ability to do math. Though now I don't see any need to use a calculator because I can just pop onto a spreadsheet, enter the mathematical calculation, and I can get it done that way. And to my knowledge, no schools are banning calculators at the moment. So things change over time. AI is a tool, and helping people learn how to use the tool is going to make them more performant. When it comes to research and letting AI do the research for you, the only problem is if you've never done the research yourself, you often don't know what needs to be done to provide a proper foundation. And if AI screws up, you're probably going to miss it. Now, you certainly can do like DeepSeek did and create another AI that does quality control. But where we are right now, I think there should be a blend of using AI and people doing research on their own, only so that they understand how the research is gathered. Because if the issue of question to the AI, it's not that the AI is going to be able to do something that they can't do. It's going to be able to do things they can do just much more quickly and with more breadth. In other words, it solves a time problem. It may solve a breadth problem, but it doesn't necessarily solve an access problem. If you don't have the rights to certain kinds of information, the AI probably is not going to be able to get that information for you. So understanding those limitations would inform you as to how to properly prompt the AI to get a better result. And so while I'm not convinced that everybody needs to do all their own research all the time, I do believe that the phase we're currently in, it is very helpful for a researcher to learn how to do the research, at least initially first, and then use the AI so that it informs them on how to prompt better, so that the obvious errors that a researcher would be known to the person providing the prompt. So I think it's a quality control issue to assure that people understand the underlying information and the way it's acquired, to make sure that they prompt properly and that they are aware of when the AI goes off the rails and doesn't do the job. I wouldn't be as concerned if it wasn't that we've had this hallucination problem with AIs where they actually manufacture research, which is problematic because if then they form a conclusion based on an improper foundation, and the conclusion can't be trusted, but the paper itself would look like it was highly trustworthy and viable unless you went back and checked each one of the references, which I think is problematic right now. Now we'll eventually grow out of that, and we'll be able to trust AI far better. But for where we are now, I think people should be using AIs, but they should at least at the very front end be able to showcase they could do the job if the AI wasn't involved, so they're better able to prompt and control the quality of the result, which is what my advice would be. So I disagree with preventing people from using AI, but I also disagree with people just using it as an absolute before they've learned how to do the job themselves. The only exception I'd make for that is, for instance, if you're asked to do a task that is outside of your scope, you don't have the background for it, and now you're using an AI to provide an answer. that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get, and you don't have any time to train up for to do the rest, then it may be appropriate to use the AI, but you do run the risk of the result being much less trustworthy than if you fully understood what the AI was doing and understood the subject matter better. But that's often the case when using a human expert. The same caveat is in place. When you use a human expert and you know nothing about the topic, it's very easily for the expert to provide an answer that wasn't the answer that you were hoping for or that you wanted, because of the lack of communication between the two of you. The expert may not understand what you want, and you may not understand how to communicate to the expert of what you really need. Same thing exists for AI, just at a greater scale. So some level of training is generally very helpful in dealing with any type of an expert, whether it's a human expert or an AI expert. It improves the overall quality of the result.
Thank you. This is excellent discussion. I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible with the government agency, corporation, and academia. And our speaker, you are also very influential. I request you all to share our content as much as possible, because this is like open source and we can learn from today's debate. Because I was in a academy and corporate discussions in Bangladesh just 1 hour before, and I find there are too much of confusions and wrong information about utilizing AI. That is reality. So this kind of debate, this kind of dialogues, I think this is very important for the corporation, for this academia, for the government agency. I travel around the world and I meet with the government agency personally, a lot of corporation and academia, lots of misconceptions we have. So how we can improve? We should share our knowledge, we should share our views, and your experience is priceless, especially for emerging economy, what we can learn from your dialogues and everything. So everybody share it, enjoy these sessions, and if you have any comments, you can email us. You can join our discussion and dialogues every Thursday and Friday. We organize this kind of sessions. So hopefully it will be very helpful for intellectual community. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.
Thank you.